Hello, my name is Ruth Grigg from Private Tuition and Dyslexia Service. We're going to be learning about adjectives and about spider plans and how we can use adjectives in our stories to make them a lot better. So here we go. So we are going to use adjectives to describe characters in stories. I'm just going to make my face a little bit smaller for you there. There you go. So people can show their feelings in lots of different ways. And writing is far more convincing when you suggest things and you don't just say what a character is feeling. First of all, let's take a quick look at what adjectives are. So adjectives are words that describe things like their shape, their colour, or the feeling. For instance, the colour, it was a red coat, or it was a massive coat, or it was a dirty old coat. So we're going to think about that in relation to how somebody is feeling. So instead of saying Bob was angry, we're going to say this. Bob's face grew redder as he screamed and shouted. So that describes his feeling a lot more. So let's make a little spidergram. Well, let's look at this one that we've made already here. It's already on the screen. So we've got the word angry in the middle. So we put the word angry in the middle, and then we think about everything related to being angry. So if someone's angry, they're not calm, obviously. So what would they look like? So we've got an idea here. We've got glaring eyes. We could have bulging eyes or staring eyes. Any kind of eyes that describe what the person's looking like with their eyes. Okay, they could be shaking. So if they're angry, their head could be shaking or their whole body could be shaking. So we need to think about what this person is doing with their body. They could be smashing their fist. They could be hitting a wall, or they could be doing that action because they're angry. Their face could be bright red because they're so angry. They could have a grimace frown, like a really angry frown on their face. They could have clenched fists like this, or clenched teeth like that. They could be slamming doors, shouting, stamping their feet. It could be cursing. They could be doing all sorts of things. So write down all your ideas about angry. There could be a lot more. So instead of saying Bob was angry, what have we chosen? Bob's face grew redder. So he had the red face here. As he screamed and shouted. We've got shouted here. Here we go. You could carry on describing his feelings and what he looked like and what he did by using some of these words here. That would describe his anger and what's going on far better than you saying Bob was angry. So by joining all the points into a few lines, the effect is far more dramatic. It's far more effective than just saying Bob was angry. I think you get it, don't you? Okay, let's read it. He slammed the door and stamped across the room. Two fierce eyes glared out from his red face. His whole body began to shake and quiver. Suddenly, he lashed out, smashing his clenched fist on the table, swearing and shouting at the top of his voice. You see how all these little words here, all your ideas can come together to make a brilliant description of what happened. just here. So let's have another go, shall we? Let's go to the next page. We can use adjectives to describe people. So we can use a spider plan to describe what the character looks like, not just their actions, not just what they're feeling, but what they actually look like. So let's have a go. So we've got the word old. So we've got an older person. We put old in the middle. So what does an older person look like? Well, they often have white hair. So we put white hair here. They might be a little bit shaky when they're walking, or a little bit shaky because they're not as strong as a young person. They might use a walking stick. They might be thin and frail. They might need to use a hearing aid. Their movements are often slower movements. Sometimes the body's a bit hunched over. Some may have a croaky voice. They may have glasses. Often older people have glasses because your vision changes as you get older. Some have wrinkled skin. So those are just some ideas. So shall we make up a paragraph, a few sentences? Because you know when you put a few sentences together, they make a paragraph. So we could make up a few sentences, put it into a paragraph to describe an old person. So let's call her Betty. Betty was sitting in the corner alone, looking rather thin and frail. She had a walking stick beside her. She was a little bit shaky and her movements were rather slow as she tried to stand up to greet her friend across the other side of the room. She picked up her walking stick. Her body was hunched over, and she shakily walked across the room and said in a croaky voice to her friend, "Good morning, good morning, how are you?" Her friend showed her a card that she'd received from her relatives. So she put on her glasses and she had a look. Her hand was a bit shaky as she read the card. She smiled at her friend and said, "That's great, isn't it?" So can you see how using different words across here, you can describe this old person, what they're feeling, what they're saying and what they're doing. Do you think you could have a go? Why don't you take a look at the screen? See what sentences you can put together using some of these words, like I just did. You gonna have a go? Hey, why don't you try it? Why don't you type it down and send it to me so I can have a look? I'd love that. Okay, so I've got some other ideas for you. You can pick a card and you can make your own spider plan. Let's see. I'll move my picture out a bit. We've got a gangster. So how would you describe them? What do they look like? How do they act? What do they wear? Police officer. Vampire. Spy. Pirate. A rock star. A dancer. A witch. Or a schoolboy or girl. So what you need to do once you've chosen one of those is put the word in the middle like that, and then think of all your ideas like this. So you put a stick or line out like that, and you put a word or a couple of words there. So a gangster, what would they be wearing? You know, what would they have in their pockets? How would they be behaving? What else would they look like? What would their hair be like? You know, what kind of clothes would they be wearing? All those kind of things. How would they behave? Would they be confident? Would they be shy? I dealt with they'd be shy. So you put all your different words around the side like that, and then see if you can make up a couple of sentences about the word that you've chosen. Look, when you've completed your spider plan, you can write a full description in a couple of sentences. You think you could have a go at that? Even if you'd find it difficult to write it, perhaps you could record it. That would be great, wouldn't it? If you do that, would you send it to me? I'd love to see it. Thanks very much. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. And if you have, give it a like. And I will see you again really soon with another video. Goodbye for now.